Welcome, guys. Tonight we are talking all about networking, and we have lots of different ideas, things you might not have heard of, things you may have heard. Again, please feel free to share your ideas with your breakout rooms or raise your hands at any point during the slideshow so that we can hear your tips and tricks, because we're all here to learn from each other, and the best way to do that is through sharing. So our first topic is networking best practices, and we have separated them into 3 different sections. So if you're new to networking, you would be more in the foundational section, which Mohammad is going to explain. Go for it, Mohammad. Take it away.
Yeah, thank you. Networking, for me, networking is a long-term plan, and it needs to be built with a passion and patience. And you need to set your clear goal and vision on why and what you want to achieve from this networking, and to be specified when and how you approach people. And you can start always with your existing connection. That will be the base, so you can start to grow and build up your network. But nothing can be done in a day or overnight. It needs to be planned properly, and you need to be really patient on how you approach people and when you approach them and for what purpose you approach them, and be ready when you approach someone. Be ready for that approach. Be by continuous learning and improving your skills and improving your knowledge. Be ready for any conversation with the people you are approaching. If you are approaching them for a specific purpose, be ready for that. If it is a generic, just building a network, that sometimes probably will fire back on you. If you are just building the network left and right and just approaching people and just asking for a connection for no purpose, that will fire back, because you are building a network that it's not impacting your relationship with others. When you start to build your network, you need always to follow up, and don't just approach people, connect with them, and then just let it go. You just count more people in your network. If you connect with someone, follow up with them and be in continuous contact with them. And you can write a track for your relation with people. If you are really want to build that kind of network or relationship, keep a track of your interaction with people, because that will help you really to improve your relationship and build a bigger network.
Awesome. And going back to that, Mohammad, there's also a tracker in our resources section. So I know a lot of people are like, I don't know what to do once I meet someone. How do I keep track of it? I think there are a couple in the resources section where they're kind of like Excel spreadsheets where you can put in the person and just answer a few questions, like with the date that you spoke to them, some fun facts that you'll have that you will forget if you don't make a note of them. So this way, when you speak to them again, you will have those notes there for you so that you can refer to them.
Yeah, that is one of the good things, is to keep organized and to stay focused on what you are doing and when you do things. So it's important to track your relation and your networking when you start to build the network. And
Right.
you can build a different network. So it doesn't have to be one network. It depends on, like from my experience, because I have transitioned from different industries. I have networks on different industries. So you need to build that kind of different networking. And to do that, you need to be organized and you need to be patient.
Absolutely. I think
Ashna
organization
has a
is
question,
key.
I think.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Ashna.
I wanted to bring up the chat. I think Pam asked something in the chat.
Go ahead.
Pam, go ahead. Do you want to mute and ask the question?
Yeah, so Mohammad, you're obviously a superstar. I would love for you to tell us, for example, what are your goals? Why are you doing this? How, so not just generic, but you.
Okay, I build networks for different purposes. It depends if it is a personal network that, those are the network for my personal stuff, or if it is a business related, or if it's a customer success related. I have different networking. The way I do it is, I put a plan whom I want to approach and why. Those will keep me on the track, why I'm reaching to you, Pam, and why I'm connecting with you. Maybe I want to learn something from you.
Okay.
Sometimes building network, it doesn't have to be that I need to be in contact with you every day. I just like your posts. I like your the information you share, and I want to learn from you. I build that network with you. Maybe I will contact you from like every 3 months. I will reach out to you once, but that doesn't mean that I cannot be in that relation or in that contact or that network. I have networking only, or a network only for learning. I have a list of people that I like to read their posts and learn from their knowledge. So you need to define the purpose of that network. You can build 10 of the networks. It doesn't have to be all in one network. I have a network that for closed people, that the people that I reach out to continuously, and I just like to chat with them, because when you chat with them, it's a way that you can learn something, you can vent, you can ask questions. This is a different network from the people that I just learn from them. I don't want to bother them with my questions. I just like to read, to continue learning from their experience. So you need to define the purpose of that network. Thank you.
Absolutely. Moving on to the next level, once you've established some relationships, and like Mohammed said, do not reach out to people every day, because they will not respond, and that is not the route you want to go down. Make sure to keep it not transactional. Make sure you're building relationships with these people. You're asking questions. It's not all about what you want from them, but what you can offer them as well, which is what we mean by that. Like, don't make it transactional, that you are trying to get something out of them, but not giving something back in return. I think that's the biggest thing that people, when they're new to networking, they kind of just say like, hey, can you get me a job? They'll send someone a message and be like, oh, I'm looking for a job at your company. Please help me out. That's not, I think 9 times out of 10, that will not work. It might work one time, but not the best route to go down. So things you should do is have an online presence, make sure you're posting. And I talked about this last week in the LinkedIn session, where in the beginning, I did not post. I just kind of commented on people's things, and little by little, people started commenting back, and then people sent me messages and I sent them messages. And the more I commented and built these relationships with people, people asked me for coffee chat. So then I would meet with them. And then I felt, the more this went on, I felt more confident that I could start posting. And now I post about whatever often, because I feel more comfortable doing it. So I think it's scary when you first start doing it, but if you kind of ease into it by commenting on other people's things first, I think that is a great way to just get into it. And then you can eventually move on to making your own posts. I'm not posting every day, but I feel like I post when I have something valuable to share with people. Giving back is probably one of the most important tips, I think, for networking, because if you're not giving back and not giving them something out of it, there's no reason for someone to take time out of their day to chat with you. So I think it's super important to make sure that you're offering them something, even if it's just a connection. Tell them, like, look through my connections. If there's someone that you want to be connected with at a company that you might be looking at, feel free to let me know, and I'll be happy to set up that connection for you. I set up a lot of coffee chats myself, because I really do enjoy learning about people, which goes back to the tracker. Make sure you're tracking it. I think that's important, because you might remember fun facts about them, but if you don't talk to them for another 6 months, let's say, you will forget that. So just make sure to note something about them that you will remember. And yeah, I think that the more you do it, the easier it becomes. It seems pretty scary in the beginning, but the more you put yourself out there, you'll be surprised how many people are willing to help and willing to give you some time. I wouldn't recommend asking for a lot of time. I would say let's stick with 15 to 30 minutes tops in the beginning, because people are busy with work and can't take that much time out of their day. But I've had 30-minute conversations go over an hour, because we just had a great conversation going and neither one of us had something afterwards, and we just kept going. So you never know where it can take you or who you can meet. So I think that's just a good route to go down. Now I'm going to
And-
pass it on. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I just want to add, if you are building a network for a sales lead generation or a sales lead building, try not to ask for a connection. And once it's approved, you just send the sales call or the sales email direct to them, because that is really, personally, it bothers me a lot. You know, because before you know me, before you talk to me, don't send me a message trying to sell me something. You know,
Right.
you send me a connection request. I appreciate that. I accept it. That it doesn't mean that you can sell me something today. You can, maybe you can tomorrow, but not today, because you just connect with me, and that will show me that you don't have that skills of selling something. So I just block you. So don't do it, because people will start to block you.
It's like dating. You would not ask someone to marry you the first second you met them. Like, you have to treat it slowly.
Yeah, for example.
I think that's like the perfect reference, where you just don't want to go too hard too soon. Like, make sure that you ease into it and are nice and work your way into their DMs. You know what I mean? Also, when you send a connection request, make sure to always add some note of how you met. I think that's an important thing. So I know there are a lot of people that just send connection requests, but there's no rhyme or reason for it. And a lot of people get turned off by that. So if you met someone, let's say in office hours, I love when I get a message and I'm like, hey, just saw you in office hours, would love to connect. And I'm always like, I'm happy to connect with other office hours people. But sometimes you'll get like a random person where you don't know where they're from or what. So it's good to just give it some context to make sure. You'd be surprised how many people will connect with you if you send them a connection with a little bit of a note attached. Timbra, you have something to share with us?
I just had a thought, because Kathy asked, like, what can you offer, like, as someone new, especially when you're talking to someone who's way more experienced in the field. One thing that I was able to do twice that was really fun was, because people are so willing to talk to you. I had someone who was like in fintech that I was able to connect to somebody else, because like I'm more interested in ed tech. And then there was someone who was doing like more like CS ops. And then I was able to like make a connection for that too. And like that was kind of fun, even though like I don't have anything like to really super add to the conversation, but because of other conversations, I was like, oh, you should talk to so-and-so. And I think that they really appreciated it.
Absolutely. I think that is a perfect way to do that, because this way you're still giving them some value, but at the same time, you may think you don't have value. You have a ton of value to offer. All of you in here have something to offer everyone. You think you don't if you're in customer success or you're just transitioning. Trust me, everyone out there can get something from you and can gain some value and some experience from your intelligence. So don't ever feel shy that you can't offer something, because like Timber said, even just a connection, like, hey, I spoke to so-and-so the other day and he happens to be in the same industry. He was looking for someone too. Let me connect you to. And then you can do it on LinkedIn, send them both a message, and then they go on their merry way and you have made a positive impact on them. So I love that, Timber. That's awesome.
Great idea. Yep. Thank you.
Maryann, I think there was someone before Neil that had raised his hand.
Trevor.
I can't see.
Trevor.
I'm sorry. I can't see.
Trevor.
who has
Yeah,
their hand
Trevor
raised.
actually, Trevor and then Neil.
Okay.
Trevor, are you still with us, or have you left us out of frustration?
I'm so sorry. I'm the host and I'm sharing my screen, so I can't see who's raising their hands.
I was
Feel
just gonna
free.
say, I can't reiterate like what people are saying more in the sense of like giving back, because I remember when I was before I had decided on customer success, you know, I was a bit aimless, a bit just trying to kind of make anything work. But as soon as I started offering, you know, even small bits and pieces there, it helped out a lot. The other thing that I found great success in is it doesn't always have to be kind of like what you know, we were talking about different purposes. It doesn't always have to be, oh, hey, you know, I want to get into customer success, so I only talk to customer success people, or I only talk to people in like the particular, you know, sector or industry. Like for me, one thing that I was really interested in was like climate change and climate tech. So I went to a lot of networking events in that. And then I used that shared interest to then talk to other people in roles that I was interested in, not necessarily just in climate, but broadly speaking. And they were more willing to talk to me because we had that shared interest.
Absolutely. That is a great tip, 100%. And going back to what you just said, Trevor, joining groups on LinkedIn is a fantastic way of connecting with people that are in your same industry or in the industry you want to get into. And I actually have a little tip about the groups. I just learned this from Charles Wright. I don't know if he's here tonight, but he said, when you join a group, if you don't have LinkedIn Premium, you are able to message them directly if you are in the same group together, which I did not realize was a thing, but it's like some sort of LinkedIn loophole, just so you know.
We have 3 other people that raised their hands.
Yep,
I think
go ahead.
it was Neil, and then Lakshmi, and then Ashna.
I adopted a philosophy. I heard a quote a number of years ago that networking is helping people without expecting anything in return. And I have adopted that philosophy. And every time I talk with someone, it is standard operating procedure that I will say, what can I help you with? How can I help you? Because a person does not want to be known as a taker. If a person gets that reputation, no one's going to want to talk to them. For me, I get a lot of joy of helping somebody, no matter what it is, whether it's introducing them to someone in the same field, do something simple as following them on LinkedIn or commenting on their post. It's because there's a cousin called karma, and I really believe in karma. And that's one of the reasons why I always help people. I don't look for people to help me. I don't expect it. When I get it, I'm so overwhelmed. I really don't even know how to react because I'm just so stunned that I'm not used to that. And I think that's how we are made up. But you have to, in order to be one of the big successes in networking, is the individual needs to adopt an attitude of giving. There's a book called The Go-Giver. I haven't read it yet, but it's all about giving. It has to be sincere because people can read an individual who is as fake as a mannequin. That's how I go about networking. And like Trevor mentioned, you shouldn't just talk to people in your field. Me, I talk to anybody because I do not prejudge people. How do I know what this individual knows? And how do I know what who that individual knows?
So I'm sorry, gonna put you on a pause because Maryann, we're seeing your Slack message right now.
Yeah.
And we're sharing kind of how the sausage is made right now.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. So I just thank you for that input. And Lakshmi, what are your thoughts in 30 seconds?
Yeah, I'm gonna try and make this quick. I second Neil. Sometimes when I approach networking conversations, I ask the person, "Hey, I'd love to help you give back, and what do you think is the best way?" And that helps because often when people accept a networking request, they also have an idea of what they can get from you, and it also helps them choose how they want to help. The other thing that I wanted to quickly highlight was I had a course in business school called Teams Lab, which talks about your network and intentionality. And there's a number called Dunbar's number, which essentially says that at a point of time, any human can meaningfully maintain only 150 connections. And so there is some intentionality that goes into networking and whom you choose to network with. I'm going to put a quick link from BBC on this. I think it's really interesting to go through, and there are a couple of different numbers on 150 for close, but also like 5,000 for a bigger network. I'm going to stop here, but I want to paste the link in the chat.
Thank you. Please do. We'll bring it over to the Slack channel so we don't lose it too. Thank you for sharing.
I think we have covered a lot of foundations. And while I kind of transition to my section, Maryann, could you bring up the poll for us?
Sure.
So we talked about, we see a lot of things that are being repetitive, right? The 2 big themes that I'm hearing are make sure to give back, make sure to listen actively, and make sure to be patient, right? To have a goal, to be organized, but yet to bring your networking to the next level, which is the advanced version, it's still challenging. So what are the roadblocks that are in your way? Right now, Maryann had put up a poll. If they're just, if there are other things that's not here, go ahead and put it in chat. there are over 60 people here tonight that are trying to kind of upgrade their networking skills. So what's the roadblock? Because that's what I want to address. Okay, so we're going to give you everybody, go ahead and choose. And then we will go ahead and end the poll in about 10 seconds. And we'll share the results with everybody. Okay, people are still choosing.
Still moving.
Okay, and Nikki, good point. Sometimes it's multiple. Choose the one that's your biggest roadblock. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll now. And let me go ahead and share the results. Okay, let me know. Someone that's not a panelist, can you guys see the results?
Yeah, we can
Yes.
see them.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So based on this group, about half of you responded. It's actually pretty even, like in every section is like, you know, evenly divided. You don't know what to do. That's actually, you haven't, we addressed that, right? Like you have to set the clear goals, be organized, give value, and then be patient, right? So now you know what to do. For those of you that still typed, I don't know what to do, I challenge you to come back and listen to all the conversation we had in the last 20 minutes. There's a lot of feedback that I've given from the panelists and the attendees on what to do. Now, the second category, that's actually the category, is that I don't have time. That the 30% of you said that you don't have the time. So I think my question is, it depends on your goal, right? So if you don't have time for this to network, is because you're busy with work, you're busy with life. How do you carve out time? And I think when you don't do something is because you don't feel like you really need to. You haven't prioritized it. So it's possible that you feel like all the time that I have right now is just to work and, you know, my personal life. I don't have time to expand. But I encourage you to shift your mindset a little bit. If your goal is to expand your career, networking is essential to actually expanding your career, right? So the mindset is that it's not just I'm doing networking for the purpose of networking. This is why Mohammad and Maryann said, what is the goal, right? My goal is to get that promotion. So will you network with people outside the company? Probably less. You want to network with the C-level suite in your company. Those are the people that are in the position to give you the promotion or work with you on promotion. And so for those of you that chose, I don't have time, I encourage you to actually shift your mindset. So incorporate, like, how is networking going to add to my goal? We also have a fear of rejection, and that's real, right? And the other one that's related to fear of rejection is I don't, and Kathy asked it, like, I don't feel like I can add any value. And I think that's and again, I'm going to talk about our mindsets. So the mindset of being fear of rejection is one way you can combat that is to completely remove the focus on you. Right. So it's a different level of challenge. Like once you have the foundation, once someone already says yes to there's rejections in terms of getting people to talk to you, and then there's rejections of people that you don't, you know, they won't want to really talk to you. So for the fear of rejection of people saying no, I'd like for you to think about it. If you reach out to someone tonight here, and you said, hey, I really want to talk to you, and, you know, I like to understand your career journey or something like that, and they don't get back to you. First of all, maybe be patient, right? Because maybe they're just working through to get a lot of LinkedIn requests. Or maybe there's a lot of reasons that they reject you. But think about it. If you don't try to reach out to them and you don't go for it, you end up, there's nothing lost. So I want you to kind of think about this rejection, not as something that's adding to it. If they actually, in fact, reject you, even though they're not rejecting you, they just haven't gotten back to you, you're back exactly where you started. So why not reach out? Why not try it? Right? Because you have nothing to lose, right? You reach out to the 50 people here that are on the call, 60 people here today. A percentage of you is going to get back to you, but you do have to put in the work.
And just so you know,
finally,
we all
yeah.
get rejected. Like I write to people and don't hear back too. It's not just if you're new to it, like everyone, people get busy. There are lots of reasons why people, it's not rejecting you. It's just busy, I think.
Yeah,
Can I
totally agree. Yes, Ashna.
Yeah, sorry. I think one thing, I feel like there was a lot of people, rejection is good, but I think a lot of people it's like, I may not know what I have to give back or whatever. I think one thing I try to put down, and it's also something I've learned hard way, but you don't have to think about giving back at that very moment. Giving back has a different description. Like giving back could be before, after, keep them in mind. Maybe it might be in 6 months that they might be coming out to you for something. And, especially in this environment that we are right now, that happens. I reached out to so many people years ago and for whatever reasons, and they can come back and they're like, hey, I am applying to this job, or I need this recommendation. Giving back has different meaning to it. So I think just to kind of keep in mind, it's not something, if you can do it right away, great, but it's not always at that very moment. And one last thing I'll add is something else that I learned is also a way of giving back, especially in CS world. And if they're, in your same field or whatnot, write them LinkedIn recommendations. That's something, pretty, so, hey, if they've helped you, really, give them that feedback. I think that's probably the best thing that you can even do for them right away.
Or even endorse their skills. You can also go on LinkedIn and just endorse people's skills, because I think that's another really good way to give back to people that have helped you or whatever. Like if you know that they're a pro at customer success, go endorse them, or for any of their skills. I think that's a really good way too, in addition to recommendations.
Yeah, and rejection, rejection, it doesn't have to be, sometimes rejection happen not only when you start the connection or when you want to build that connection. Sometimes it happens afterwards. You are in contact with someone and you reach out to them to ask for something, and they just ignore you or they just reject that question. So rejection will happen all the time. So this should not be your fear. You just put this on the side and just reach out to the people you want to connect with, and reach out to the people you want to ask them question. Through my journey this year to build the Monday interview, to build a 53 interview throughout the year, I have reached out to like more than 200 success leaders.
Wow, I was going to say, you probably get rejection too. So people say, they're busy.
I get rejection all the time,
Right.
and that will not stop me.
Right.
I have a passion, I have a plan, and I have a goal, and rejection will not stop me. And you should have that thick skin that if you rejected once, that's good. You start count. It doesn't have to be something negative. It can be something positive. Okay, my target this year to be rejected 300 times. So what? But I keep my plan.
But I really encourage everyone to don't think of it as a rejection, honestly.
Right.
For the big influencers, Jan has so many requests and emails. If she doesn't get back to you, you probably slipped her mind. So the advanced version of networking is you gotta be able to be willing to ping people more than once. Okay. You want to my perspective is, if they don't get back to me to say, stop pestering, you don't want to pester, right? Like I respectfully once a week, reach out to them with hopefully something with value. Hey, here's a recording, what I did. And here's something that I saw. So the advanced version is you have to show people that you know them, right? When you want to reach out to Ashna, you want to say, hey, I looked at your website and I saw that you did this, or I listened to your podcast and I was curious about that. So the advanced version is actually get to know the person that you are interested in connecting with. Have a reason for wanting to connect with them beyond something that's good for you, because they're influencers. Everybody wants to connect with them, right? But if you take the impetus, make the effort to say, I know you, and I really want to talk with you more about this, they're much, much more likely to get back to you. Same with responses. And Lonnie, I want to hear what you have to say in just a second. When you're responding, we talked about, hey, giving feedback to influencers on their commenting on what they say. It's not enough just to say, great post. It's not enough to say, interesting. And it's definitely not enough just to give a thumbs up. What you want to do is actually see something insightful. And this is where you have to have a little bit of courage, right? It's okay. It comes with practice as a muscle. Networking is a muscle you have to flex. You just practice sharing your opinion. And then you get comfortable. And then that's when they will actually interact with you. Okay, so we have two people that have feedback. So Lonnie and Kathy. And then I think we have to go to breakout session.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great
I was
idea.
gonna say, yes.
Kathy?
Thank you, Sandy.
Lonnie, sorry,
sorry.
Lonnie.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Sandy. I'm new here, so I'm familiarizing myself with the guidelines. So I posed my question in the chat, but now I realize I should raise my hand. So in terms of the networking steps, should we be thinking about giving back and bringing value synonymously?
Yeah, and I think
in
it
the
should
beginning
be from,
level,
from day
in the
one.
beginning.
Yeah.
In the beginning level, that's one and the same. Don't overcomplicate it. I would say over oriented on taking action, right? Just go and reach out. Just start commenting. Just start posting.
Also, you can LinkedIn stalk people. It's totally acceptable on LinkedIn, and bring up things in their LinkedIn. Like, I just had talked to a recruiter the other day, and I saw he was a professional football player in a previous lifetime. And I truly was so curious about that. I had so many questions. So when he was asking me questions about myself, I was like, I'm happy to answer your questions, but I do not want to hang up this call until we talk about your professional football career. Now, getting back to what you asked me, and I talked all about that. And then at the very end, I was like, now, can you just tell me, how did you get into that? How did that happen? Who did you play for? And we just got into that awesome conversation, and he lit up. You could tell that he was so happy to talk about himself. So I think that is a huge thing. People are always happy to share their stories. So don't be scared to kind of look up their LinkedIn and see if you have any similarities or questions or what, to try to break the ice that way. Sorry, Kathy, didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to throw that in.
That's okay. I just had a quick note to add about being scared of rejection or just plain scared to reach out. And you're new to this. It's going to be like that for a while, but you practice and then you get better. And then pretty soon, if somebody doesn't respond, you're like, whatever. And you can, like Sandy said, reach out to them again, but I take it from somebody who knows about this thing. Practice, practice, practice. And it won't be so bad, as you go along. So
it gets less scary. Absolutely. It gets like Sandy said, it's muscle memory. The more you do it, the better you get.
Right. And if you're looking for a job or looking to change jobs, you're going to need this ability to be able to speak up and reach out, even though you might be reaching out to somebody a little scary. So yeah, practice before you get that job.
All right.
Absolutely.
So we only have a very short amount of time, but let's do our breakout. So I'll just go ahead and put it out there. This session is going to go a little bit longer because this conversation is so rich. So we understand those of you that have to drop off because it'll be 8:30 already for you. But the kids are already asleep, so let them sleep. They don't need you anymore. So go ahead and stay. And you want to break us out into sessions? We have questions for you. Shall we say 20 minutes?
Yeah, let's make sure we have those questions in the chat.
Yep. Working on it. Give me a second.
For those of you that are new to office hour, we're now going to go into breakout session where you get to actually meet 3 or 4 people, and we have 3 question prompts. You get to introduce yourself in 30 seconds or less, and then actually answer those questions on the Google Doc. And then we'll bring everybody back after 20 minutes, and then we'll have additional conversations then.
Maybe we'll keep it shorter than 20. 20 might be too long.
Okay, let's do.
Yeah, I think 15 minutes.
Yeah,
I think.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good. This way we can come back and chat for 5. We might go 5 or 10 minutes over.
Okay.
All right. So we've got 50 people. So I'm gonna do
10 to 5.
Yeah, 10
Yeah.
groups of 5, maybe. That's a good. Also,
Yep,
in the
yep.
resources, there are templates for things. So if you go into the resources on the slides, there are templates for emails you can send people to network and things like that. So just so you have something in your
All
arsenal.
right. Great.
And
I'm gonna
we,
send
in the
people in.
resources, sorry, actually, before we go to
Go for it.
in the resources, we have a lot of information on the best practices to build your network and the body language to use when you are
Can
building
you
your
click through
network
that,
and
Maryann?
relationship.
Sure.
So there are a lot of good resources we have put in
Yeah.
on the slides. So
We have like thank you notes.
Please download
templates.
the slides. Does everybody know how to download the slides? Go to the CS Office Slack channel and the resources are there, including the recording of this call.
Yep.
All right,
Right,
so
I'm
who's
All
doing
right.
the breakout
Okay.
rooms?
I am. I'm sending you guys in.
Thanks, Ashna.
All right. See you in 15.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm bringing everybody in. I did it wrong. Rather than doing 10 rooms, I did 5. So just sorry. I know it's running late. I'm
No
bringing
worries.
just everybody in so I can redo it.
Asha, you know what? You're such a goddess. You did it to make the rest of us feel good for when we make mistakes.
It's all good. That's how we
Sorry,
learn.
just one minute. I'm typically pretty good with this. I'm gonna close out as everybody comes back in, and I will let you guys go back into. Yeah, sorry, just
Thank you.
didn't
No
count
worries.
it right.
No
See,
worries.
It's all
we need
good.
Mom. We need our mom back. Jan is gone and everything's going awry.
You guys are
Where
doing
is
good.
everybody? It's like
Thank you.
everybody's
Who
waiting
said that?
for it
Thank
to
you
come
so much.
back.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry everybody, welcome back. Sorry, I'm sending you guys back in. I just need to do it again because I did it 5 rooms rather than 10. So let's
All good.
recreate. I need to do 10 rooms.
Can you do 12 rooms so that it's a smaller
Yes.
group?
Yep.
Let's do 12 rooms.
Doing 12 right now.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, much better now. Okay, sorry guys. See you in 15.
Okay.
Our group is if you are geographically limited in the sense that you don't live in a very big city, what do? I know there's virtual things now, but how do you find them? How do you navigate when you just can't, you're not in like New York or LA or San Francisco. You can just go to things that happen like every week.
You don't have to be in the big city to do it.
Oh, I think his question was, how do you find it? So that's where CS Office Hours is good for. Like, go ahead and like ask the people in general, like, hey, what are some other Slack channels you're part of? Are there communities in this city? And just in my group that I was in, if you don't see a CS community in your location, and you find like 3 or 4 people that's through Jan's CS Office Hour, just start your own. Go grab
You need
coffee.
2. You only need 2 people to start a geo channel in office hours.
Exactly.
So find one
And
person.
Meetup works too. If you join up with Meetup, that's where I found a couple of really good groups. There's a CSM group here in Portland. There's a that's where I saw the first customer marketing group.
Absolutely. Meetup
And
is
we
another great
do
place.
things both live and virtual. So
Yeah, meetups are great.
Mhm.
Another, I think, networking, just to kind of and networking advice, which I feel like I try to provide this to everyone that I talk to or network or whatever, but I'll give it to you. And this could work virtual, in person, whatever. Anytime when you attend a networking, whether it's one-on-one or multiple, whatever, ask that, like, the one last question that you should ask that person is, who else in your group or in your network that I can connect to, or that I can reach out to, or that you can introduce me to? And that's how you multiply, basically. So it's especially for virtual networking, I've given this advice to so many people, and it works like a charm. Just ask them, like, anyone else that I could reach out to for whatever topic or whatever your why is that you're reaching out to, because that's how you basically increase your network in another way. And there's multiple different ways, and for groups to start with, but then you can always, it's like you can amplify and you can find what you're looking for, basically.
Absolutely. Does anybody want to share anything they learned in the breakout rooms or an idea that somebody had or something, we would love to hear it. We had some great conversations going in mine, and Kirti actually gave that.
From our team, Janet from our team is going to share.
Oh, go for it. Oh, Janet, you're on mute. Just come off mute.
I apologize.
worries.
One of the things we went in discussed was how do you find networking opportunities? And one of the things we came up with is you want to see what people are looking for and look for people, you know, when you're looking for people, look at commonalities that you might have or something interesting that, you know, kind of like you with the football player. And, you know, and try to figure out how you can deliver for them. And what do, let's see, what do I want to do next? And having conversations that may not have been good. And then Sandy recommended a really good book. I can do anything I want if I only know what it is. If I only knew what it is.
That's awesome. Can you put that name?
Helpful if you're in transition and you're not sure what you want to do. So the book, the title is super long. It's called I Could Do Anything That I Want If I Only Knew What It Was. So if you've been in, you know, if you've been in higher ed for a long time and then you've transitioned to tech and then you did ed tech, but now you're like, do I want to do this for the next, you know, 15 years or 5 years? I'm not sure. The exercise will help you actually document everything. And then you can show it to other people and say, hey, what does this sound like? So you're not confined by titles or just what's available. I mean, you know, who knew that prompt engineer would be a thing, right? So don't be kind of boxed in by whatever titles are existing right now, and try to do that exercise and share with people to get feedback on what is it that you may be interested in pursuing.
If you can throw that title in the chat, Sandy, just so we can throw it on the Slack channel, so we'll have it.
I'm actually gonna find it. I'll find it.
Okay.
I did it already. It's in the
Oh,
chat.
awesome.
I
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you.
A little ahead.
Put it in Slack.
I will.
We'll add all this
I
stuff
need
to
that
Slack
book.
after.
I need that book, Sandy. I've worn so many hats before.
Also, I saw Kimberly just posted the CS Insider. CS Insider is another wonderful group to get in. Ashna actually co-founded it, Ashna in this group. So she can tell you a lot more about it, but I help with the newsletter and stuff, and it's a wonderful group to be
Great
a part
newsletter,
of.
by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I read it every time. I'm a big fan of CS Insider. I'm very yes.
So I think Justin had raised his hand. Justin, do you want to share?
Yeah, I was just going to give a quick recap. I think I was in a group with Debbie, Kelly, and Neil, and you know, we talked about as you start to expand your network, it gets tough to sometimes manage that network, right? As you might work in a CS ops role and you're joining a CS ops group and a CSM group, and you're joining, you know, maybe an enablement group. So you start to join all these groups, and you have to have a strategy of how you're going to manage all of those groups and networks that you belong to. As an operations person, it's easy for me to go back to the old way of like, I have a spreadsheet and I know if I want to talk about operations stuff, I have these 10 people that I reach out to. If I want to, there's 10 people I follow. So it's like almost knowing your network enough to know who's who in the zoo so that you know where to go and actually interact and add value and show value. So just think about that as you start to grow your networks, which we all know are very, very important, especially in this digital age. How do you actually manage that? Because it becomes overwhelming, and then you start to lose valuable contacts that you may have had one time that are no longer, you know, in your network anymore because you kind of gave them the cold shoulder unintentionally. So that was just something we talked about. I thought it was really great, and I wanted to share because, you know, as we start to continue to grow our networks, these are going to be obstacles that you're going to want to start thinking through today. I wish LinkedIn had a way for me to group my contacts, but they don't, right? Everybody's equal in there. So just a little bit of what I wanted to share from our group, but we had some great conversations. So cheers to our team.
Awesome. I love the who's who in the zoo comments. That's a great way to look at it because it's true. LinkedIn kind of throws them all in one group. It'd be great if it was organized. Go ahead, Kimberly.
Yeah, Justin, I think we were on the same wavelength because that's kind of what I was going to ask about. And I seriously, that is like what keeps me up at night, especially because I've been building a huge network, well, pretty much my whole life in different contexts, but specifically in customer success for the last, year. And now I'm actually getting ready to like apply for jobs because I got to find a job by the end of the year. And I'm like, oh my God, like, how do I like reconnect with these people and make the magic happen? And I mean, I have a HubSpot database, and I know there's ways to create lists in there, and I have. So for me, I think I have a sense of some operational ideas to do it. Like there's tons of things I could do in my HubSpot database to group people and send group emails and everything, but it's just the finding enough time and figuring out what to say. And so I was curious, thinking back to, I know Ashna and Maryann, a lot of you guys did the habits book, which sadly I missed out on because I was moving at the time. I was trying to think if there's some kind of a, habit thing I could do every day. You know what I mean? Like every day, like spin the deck and like reach out to 5 people and then like spin the deck the next day and spin out, I was just curious if anybody's come up with anything like that. That's a really quick, like almost like a have your cup of coffee type of thing. Not so much for building network, because that I feel good with, but for the maintaining.
I would say we had talked a lot about having a goal. I wouldn't recommend, like, let's say you have 3,000 people that you just randomly spin, right? Like I would say, what's the industry? What's the company? What's the persona? Is it the CEO? Is it the managers? Like narrow down who you want to talk to, then spin. Because otherwise, if you have a vast network, then it's not an effective use of your time.
Yeah, I also talked in my group about reaching out to people at companies you want to work at in the role you want to be in, and also one level above the role you want to be in, because then you're talking to like directors, VPs, whoever, because those are the people that make the decisions of who gets hired. So if you're in their ear and you're chatting with them, when those roles come up, they will have you in mind for them. That's actually how I got my last role. I met this company at a career fair. They didn't have any customer success roles available, but we had such a great rapport that months later, when a customer success role opened up at the company, they actually reached out to me because we had a great conversation and they were like, are you still looking? Because we really want to interview you. And then I got the role. So you never know where you can meet people, like we said earlier, or where these roles you'll find these roles. But I do agree that making it go towards your goal of what you want to look for. I'm so sorry that we are so over, but I want to hear what everyone has to say. So please stay. If you want to chat, we could be here all night. Just kidding. We won't be here all night, but I do want to hear what everyone has to say. Go ahead, Loveland. Loveland, you were just at the mixer, weren't you?
Sorry,
Yes.
Timbra.
Amazing. Oh,
Okay.
sorry, Timber, were you next? I'm sorry. Oh, you're on mute, Timbra.
Sorry, clicked wrong thing. Kimberly, I was just gonna say, like, it might be easier if you start small, like instead of doing 5 people, like just give yourself like 1, and then it's easier to like build from there.
It's a good tip. Okay, go ahead, Loveland. Sorry about that.
I'll be very quick. Because I know that I'm normally networking with people who are looking for jobs. So one of the things that I wanted to share was a networking story that I had. I was laid off from my previous job in February, so it was a long time. And at that time, I wasn't really I didn't want to message my old manager. Like, why would I? I got laid off. But 9 months into my job search, I was reached out by a CEO who wanted me to give him feedback on a product. And I'm like, well, I'm not really good at strategy. I'm normally tactical, so I can give you my perspective that way. But if you wanted to have more strategic conversations, I can connect you with people who have that kind of business acumen. That person, I connected him back to my former manager, who I'm like, I have that maturity to kind of just say, I know both of you are founders and you can make magic, I'm pretty sure. And when I gave that value to my old manager, he sent me a connection to a really good recruiter that also gave me, who sent direct emails to me, connecting me with other hiring managers. So you just
That's
don't
awesome.
know how these connections are going to happen. Like, I don't know the CEO of the person. I don't really know much of that platform, but I knew that he could talk to the guy who let me go. So, and then I was able to give that kind of value back to him, who gave me value back tenfold. I didn't even think that was going to happen. Like I said, I'm going to be in my corner here, but I know that you guys can play ball. So that was really cool.
Very cool. That is a great story. Go ahead. Who was next? Was it Kim?
Thanks. I was just going to tag on to when you let somebody know that you want to work for them or you're interested in their company, that is magic to the other person. Because I've done that where I've reached out to CEOs and hiring managers at companies where I really either love the work they're doing, I want to be a part of it, I feel like I can contribute value, and just putting yourself out there to companies that you value what they're doing, and you let the owner know and you say, look, if there's ever an opportunity for me to contribute to your team, I'd love to know. And I just wanted to, and you can lead with that. And then it gives you that place of power where you're not asking for something, you're letting them know, here, I want to give you something. So that's another way to go about it. Getting your name in front of more, hiring managers and the actual owners as well. I would start
absolutely,
and then have the owner or the CEO or the decision maker point you in the direction of who else on their team they think you should talk to.
Absolutely, because you never know where you're going to find that person. Yeah, I think it's so good to just meet as many people as you can. You never know where that road can take you. Thank you. Trevor, go ahead.
Yeah, so I actually have one of the main problems I have with doing networking or at all managing the LinkedIn is a reel. I guess it being too real. One thing is to be quite honest, and I'm curious how people handle this. Because if you're going to network, obviously you're doing it for various different reasons. You might be skill building, you might be looking for new opportunities, you might just be seeing what's out there. I don't really feel comfortable doing that on a company device because they might see that as a threatening thing. And therefore, it's also, if you do it on your own time, it's which maybe you don't have time to do it in your personal life. Maybe you only have time to do it company hours and whatnot. I guess how do you manage those kinds of weird areas in that? Because then it's also related to what you post content wise, etc., so on and so forth. For me, sometimes I wonder what I can even do without whoever it is that I'm working for causing issue with them.
I can take a stab at that. First of all, I don't know, even gigantic companies like Microsoft and Oracle and Cisco, they can't keep track of who uses what, right? I think to be respectful, it depends on, your own personal value is don't do your personal things at work. When you're at work, focus on work, do it on the weekends, right? And so then what you do on your personal time, that's totally up to you. Networking, posting, you can post after hours, you can post before you start work. Let's say you start work at 8. You can have your posts, you can actually schedule your posts on LinkedIn to go out at 7 in the morning, right? And so you want to be, I don't think they're watching you, but if you have concerns that they're watching you, then you can just be respectful of the timing, right? When you connect with people. So Trevor, does that help a little bit?
Yeah, I know what I'm talking about is maybe a little bit too big brothery paranoid, but it's just something I've thought about.
Yeah, but if in fact you're doing that, you can just do it before or after work and on the weekends. And then if you feel like you don't have time because you want to, you need time for your personal life, then again, it's the mindset of shifting the mindset of, look, I want to get a new job. I want to get a promotion. I want something. Networking is the path, one of the paths that's going to help me get there. So
because for me, I try to make time to talk to people in CS, multiple times a week. And so just for helping me out in my own role, but I don't know if they would see it that way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but I think if you are getting better as an employee, as an employer, as a manager, I would applaud that. If
you're not slacking on your job, right? You're still doing your job well.
Exactly. So the foundation is having actually deliver on what they're paying you for.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to run in like 2 minutes.
Okay.
Garner,
Yeah, I was gonna say we all do.
Yeah,
Let's-
Garner,
Yeah.
you want to close us out?
I was just going to add to Trevor's comment, because I do sometimes have that fear too. And I think it comes down to the culture that your company has around being able to advance your own growth, because a company that highlights networking and those opportunities, I think, would want you to connect with peers. And if they're treating their employees well, they're not too worried about them going elsewhere versus one that maybe has a either abusive culture or a culture that's not fostering positive connections. They may see that as a threat. It's my 2 cents on that.
Thank you so much, Garner. Maryann, want to close it out for us?
I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming. If you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to Sandy, Mohammad, or myself. Our LinkedIn's are in the chat. You can also find us on LinkedIn just by searching for us. Remember to check out the resources, because like I said, we have really good templates in there and good trackers that you can keep track of your stuff. And good luck. Networking is, go meet people. It's just fun to chat with people and see what you can learn from them. Don't be scared. Go ahead, Mohammad, what do you got?
Thank you. Thank you all for joining. And yes, networking is open. Just put the plan and move forward. It's very interesting to chat with people.
Download the slides, everybody. It's like a little master class in like 10 slides. Download the slides and just do one of the things. Download the slides, do one things, and then let us know how you do on the Slack channel.
Yeah.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you all.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of Success Hour, formerly known as CS Office Hours. We regularly put out new content, so to be the first to know, like this episode, tap that notification bell, hit that subscribe button, and we look forward to seeing you soon.